Hey, Bob here. The time has come to glue on this binding, and the frame that I've chosen here is a little bit closer on the guitar, and you won't see me other than my hands and part of my fat belly. So, wanted to explain, I've got the purflings all on, all the way around. The binding channels are prepared. Now, what's this all about? Well, I always start gluing the left binding first. And I have some dummy bindings like this one right here, which I just put in there as a spacer to protect the purflings when I'm wrapping the guitar. So essentially, the binding that's going to end up on this side has not been glued yet. This is a dummy binding, just like this one. It's underneath all the tape. And the reason for the tape is to further protect the binding while I'm wrapping the guitar. Okay? Now, all the tape has been doubled up. I have some more tape here. This is the other stuff that I got from either StewMac or Lithium Mercantile. It's very, very strong stuff. I prefer to double masking tape because there's a little bit of, I can tighten it better. There's a little bit of give with it compared to this. And you might say, well, that doesn't make any sense. Well, it might not to you, but that's the way I think. Okay, I got a hammer here. I have an inspection mirror if I need it. I have an awl, and that awl is to remove the knot on this piece of, this is rug binding tape that you would bind the end of a rug with. And I learned that from Manuel Velasquez, and I've been using it this way for ever since I started. Now, out of frame, I also have a couple of files here. One's kind of rough and one's very fine. I have a little sanding block with 220 grit. This is going to be for down here at the end if I need to reduce the length any. I'll keep that out of frame. The awl is to undo the knot that's holding this piece of tape. This piece of let's just call it rope, but it's actually a linen rug binding, let's call it tape. Doesn't stick, but we'll call it tape because it's like tape or like ribbon. Once I start wrapping the guitar, this will get removed, and you'll see that. So without further ado, off of camera here, I'm just wringing out a few rags, wet rags, which I'll use for cleaning up. I'm going to use a brush to put the glue on. It's Titebond 1, and that'll be just fine. I've never had a binding come off ever. I also use Titebond 1 for my bridges. I've never had one come off. So what I'm going to do is, I've decided I think I'm going to tilt that down just a little because I think it's kind of flaring into the lens a bit. And I've already measured. I have some lines here which are telling me where to put everything. What I'm going to do here is I am going to glue from here all the way around to the middle of the top bout. So I'm going to put a line here with a pencil. And I think that'll be fine. So I'm going to glue this in one operation. I have my line, and that's all I need. I also have a glue clearing chisel, which I can get in here, and any stuff that squeezes out, I can get it out of there. Okay, so we're going to start with some glue. And hang on one second. Okay. So here we go. We're going to just start putting some glue in here, not past the halfway mark. Now the only problem with having the camera where it is on that side is you're not going to see what I'm doing very well, but you'll get the idea. I'm essentially painting glue on the kerfing and on the purfling and on the side where the router made its depth cut. I'm not going to take you through this whole process because it would take too long and it's rather boring to watch, but you'll get the idea. Okay, I'm also going to put some glue on the binding. It's exciting to be putting these on because finally these guitars are gonna get finished. Feels good to be back in my workshop again. Okay, that's it. I'm also going to put a little bit on this side where it goes into the pocket up here. I'm not going to put any glue on the end. Okay, paintbrush is going into the water. I have a tub of water over here. Clean off the tip of the glue dispenser. And this is probably the most important part right here. Put this in where it belongs. And right there is about correct. Right there is good. I'm going to wrap this around. It's real important that it gets seated all the way down. I'm going to put a temporary piece of tape right here and a little further down just to keep the side from getting caught when I start to put the rope on. Okay? You can see that. First thing I'm going to do here is clear the glue away so that I can, it looks like I'm right on my mark where I want to be. And we're just going to clean some of this glue out. And around the edge. And on the side here of the heel. And now we're going to wipe. Starting to look like a guitar now. I like to get as much glue off as I can. Some more will squeeze out once I start pulling the tape. I also like to use a flashlight to see if I have glue squeeze out. So far, nothing in there to speak of. All right, so now we're going to tap it again. There's a cork wafer underneath the guitar here, just like on my other form. The binding is a little bit higher. I did chisel the purfling down a bit, but I can see right here, somewhere I have a little block. Yeah, just to be sure here, I'll put a little block here. Because it looks like the binding is close in height to the purfling. I like the purfling to be a little bit low below it. I'm going to use my mirror to inspect to see if I'm sitting flat. And interestingly, it looks like this can go down a bit. Feels better. There we go. Yeah. Real important. You can hear I'm hitting that pretty hard. That's better. I don't like to leave anything to chance. And one of the reasons I do these steps separately is so that I can check all around. Especially on the beginning of the, gluing this. Okay, cool. I'm gonna hit it with a little hair dryer. So that the tape will stick better. Okay, double check the seating. Looks great. Okay, now we're going to take some tape. Pulling pretty hard here. And I like to leave just a tiny gap because I want to see the squeeze out. I'm pulling pretty hard here. One more piece. Brings me to my line. Okay. Let me check the squeeze out at the end here. I don't see any, but I'm going to just go in there anyway. Okay, I've got my my linen rope here all ready to go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull this pretty tight, but I don't want to move the guitar out of its position on the mold here, on the fixture. Now, of course, I'm in Florida. I turned off the air conditioning for this recording, and it's starting to get warm in here. So after I get this rope on, I'm going to pop the air on. I have plenty of rope, so I don't mind putting too much on. And I have to try to keep tension on this at all times. Especially the beginning. probably go one more down here, and then I'll be going to the waist. You'll see in a second. Right here. Okay. You can't see what I'm doing over here, but I'm just sort of wrapping this linen rope around a few of the screws here on the form. Then I'm taking a couple of pinch clamps, and luckily I have them right here because I didn't pull them out. I got a few pinch clamps here that I pinch over. And that pretty much did that one piece of linen. But I find that the first piece is the most important. And okay. All right. So essentially, I'm going to pop the air on for a second. I have a remote here where I can turn the air on. Now, when I used to do this procedure, I've always done it from this workbench. But when I used to do it in my old workshop, I had a lot more room in here, the way the machines were set up. So things are a little different now. Okay, so the next step is to remove this center tape, and that's why I need the awl to work the knot, to get the knot undone. Just about there. Sorry for the boringness of this. We're going to do one more part. Okay, you'll see me undoing the put this off to the side. Don't need this anymore. It's a little spacer to protect the purfling while I'm tightening that rope there. Okay, so the only thing else is to undo this one. This is just a temporary. Okay, so on this next glue, I'm going to do one more for you to see, if you are still with me. This next one, we're going to take it from here, past the waist, to right about here. I'm going to put a mark. Going to brush is cleaned, I'm just drying it off with my towel around my waist. Wringing out the rag. There's the rag, one of them. The water is hot. Okay, we'll bring the glue back over. And here we go. Now I got to be real careful here that I don't break the binding, because it's tight right here. So I'm going to use my brush, and even if I did break it, and I have before, it's not the end of the world. You can glue it back in there and nobody will ever know. Wood is pretty forgiving medium. Squeeze it down in there. Put some on the binding. This essentially, not only is this decorative, but we're also stabilizing the sound box back to the way it was before I routed. And remember, I routed a little bit deeper than I normally route because I have a rather wide purfling, about 65 thousandths of an inch, which is almost 2 millimeters. That's a pretty good sized purfling. Okay, so I got that all glued. I just want to put some glue on the bottom of the binding and purfling combination here. Now don't worry about how neat I am at this point. I just want to get the glue on there, and I can always clean it up afterwards. I'm putting it underneath the binding now, and that's pretty good. So we'll clean the tip. The beauty of Titebond or any AR glue is you have plenty of time to work. Alright, so now we're going to get into the waste here. You'll see the glue squeeze out. It's a little messy over here, but notice I have one hand that never gets glue on it. I'm going to put this in just to hold it temporarily. Just a couple of loose ones for the moment. Okay, now we're going to clean up some glue. And fold that over so I can use the clean side. The rag is not soaking wet, but it's not dry either. It's more than damp. This is just my first cleanup here. Notice how I'm keeping pressure on the waste with this finger and that finger. And I'm never pushing the glue this way. I'm always pushing it back toward what's already glued. And what I'm doing at this point is getting most of the excess glue off. It's too bad you can't see this side, but I didn't want the camera right behind me. There's really nowhere to put it. And you have a pretty good overview of the setup here. Don't forget, these bindings are rounded over, so when you put the tape on, it doesn't tear the tape. It's just, and it's not the final scraping or anything, because there's still it's about 1/8 of an inch proud of the back here. Okay, so now that I get that all cleaned out, I can clean my fingers here just a bit. Tapping. Really important to get that down nice and tight. That's better. You think you have it perfect, and then all of a sudden it moves. And I'm going to get my little block out again. Being careful not to hit the purfling. And that looks pretty good. Let's check it with a mirror. In my one eye. That looks pretty good. Okay. Going to dry off the rosewood so we have a nice dry surface to stick the tape to. This is on low heat and high speed. Okay, we will start the tape. Sound like a tennis player. That's the mark right there. Okay, so I need another spool of this rope here that I use. So what you're not going to see here is me unwinding this thing. Well, you'll see a little of it. I have to unwind this whole thing. And one of the nice things about using this glue is there's a lot of working time. Nothing is glued beyond that point right there, except for maybe a little squeeze out. Now if I don't do this the right way, it will kink like any rope will. I don't know if you remember drop lines when you used to fish when you were a kid, but these are essentially like drop line frames. You can see what it looks like. All right, now that I've got that unwound, I'm going to take the far end and gently throw it into a pile under the camera. And I'm almost at the end. Okay. Removing the pinch clamps. I don't have much rope left here, but I can definitely bring it over once. And tie it over here. Come on. That's all it needs. I've got a loop on one end which I put into one of these screws. And now we will start to wrap this side, or this next portion I should say. Quite a bit of tension on this. And I like the flatness of the cloth versus round rope. It's better for the protection of the bindings and the purflings. Waste is important, of course, to pull in. This is the where the glue ends, right here. Okay, I'll just temporarily tie it here. With my clamps. Okay. Okay, I'm going to conclude here because there's no reason to watch me keep going and finish up. However, since I have most of this on, I can see how this is fitting down here, and it's like perfectly on the center line. So, Bob, I'm going to sign out now. I may need a few more pieces of tape. It's going to be close, I'm not sure yet. But I'll continue until I finish, and it's almost 5 minutes of 1, Tuesday afternoon, May 2nd. And after I finish this, I'm going to take a little rest, and then I think I'll go in my swimming pool and cool off a little bit. Put a little bit of glue there. Might have been from the purflings, I don't know. No, yeah, it's still there. Okay, Bob signing out. I hope this helped some of you. Keep in mind that this is just the way Bob Desmond does it. You might laugh at it. It might not work for you. But for me personally, it assures me that I'm going to get a perfect result or a close to perfect result in the end. When I used to visit Manuel Velasquez and watch him do this, he would have his bindings and everything. They were only bent at the waist. They weren't bent anywhere else. And he'd jam the ends in here, and then he'd wrap around to the waist and put a couple of pieces of tape, and then the rest of the binding would be sticking out straight. He'd literally bend this with no heat. And in fact, I did hear it break once. So I pre-bend mine, as you know, and makes things a lot easier, okay? And Manuel also used hot hide glue to do this. But I like Titebond, and like I said, I've never had any issues with it, except for finding one of my chisels. Oh, here it is. Yeah, just to double check here. There's nothing in there, so that's good. Okay, I hope this helps some of you. Tomorrow, if I have time, I will do the other side, thus completing the decoration and the bindings of this back. Bob out. This will stay in the cocoon overnight. I'll unwrap it in the morning. Thank you.